5, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I just want to see. 1 second, chat. Just do it. We're every week there's a new setup here. So, I guess it's not on ultra low latency. It's probably on low latency. Yeah, I just turned my camera around. I just want to see how I sound, and then Andy, I'll have you do a test as well. Okay. Okay. Okay, great. Looks and sounds great. Okay, chat, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I know this is the most. There's. Yeah, so it's like 15 seconds behind. I wonder if I can change it while we're. Oh, ultra low latency. Let me say stream settings. I can't do it while we're live. Okay. 1 second. I could have sworn I clicked this. No, I clicked it when I was creating it yesterday. I guess you can't do it. Okay. Can I get thumbs up if you can hear me in the chat? Stream latency. I'm also screaming. Okay, good. Great. Okay. Hi, Andy, Jordy, Suhan, Esteban. Suhan, congrats on getting mod in the Discord. Welcome. Audio is on now. Sound. Hey, peoples. Dope spot to film. I agree. Sound works. We got you. Okay, great. Hear you loud and clear. Okay. All right, Colin, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, great. Andy, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
You're born ready. Let's go. Okay. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to yet another filming location. Colin is doing, well, Colin works at Humane now. Colin's running the live stream, but at some point you should just pop in and wave. Colin is wrapping up his first week. I'm so glad he's here. He feels like fully integrated at this point already.
Yeah. He was a friendly. So.
I'm so glad to have Colin here. He's going to make my output and capabilities go way up. I've said it's like a 1 + 1 = 3 sort of situation. Colin, I think we could for this maybe grab a little bit more, because that's the 24105, so it's at f4.5. I think we can crank ISO all up a little bit. So on the top, you press the ISO button, and then you should be able to turn one of the wheels.
I'm at 1,000.
Okay, great. So Colin's here running the live stream. Colin's also in the Discord. I encourage you to join the Discord. I'm looking at this camera now. I encourage you to join the Discord. If you can, Colin, create a new link for the stream and just post it in the description. So if you want to join the Discord, you're not there already. All right, let's get started. So Colin, switch to the wide, I guess, for now. This is Andie Adragna.
Hi.
Yay, Andie's here. Andie, you can introduce yourself. Say, who you are, how long you've been here, and what you do here.
Great. I'm Andie Adragna. I have been at Humane since October of 2019. I'm chief of staff here, so a little over 3 years. Back in the day, yeah.
You're an OG. Like a
that's
real OG.
I think so.
What number are you?
6.
That is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
We are close to 200 now.
Yeah,
which
big
is
day.
Just so you've seen it all. You've seen this from a little tiny idea inception. So what I do with all the guests here is we rewind the clock all the way.
Okay.
I personally want to get to know you, and I think the stream enjoys it also. We can go back to, where you're from, where you grew up, some childhood memories if you want to share them. And then, like many of us here, not me, but us as a company, come from Apple.
Yeah.
And you're one of them.
Yeah.
So I would like to understand sort of the life of Andie Adragna, how you got to Apple, and then how you got here.
Okay.
Because you're here.
Yeah. So I live in San Jose. I was born and raised in San Jose.
That is San Jose, California.
San Jose, California.
Not Costa Rica.
No. San Jose, California. Still live there. And I started working very young. I've been working since I was like 13. I started by passing out flyers for real estate agents on the weekends, making that's how old I am, like $3.50 an hour.
Going door to door.
Oh, yeah.
Little Andie.
Yeah, because you're
Wow.
trying to make money,
Okay.
Always. That was something that my dad instilled in us from a really young age, is that, to make money and to make good decisions when it comes to that kind of stuff. And so I've always been working. And most of my career has been before this and here, actually, in the admin space, EA space. I would say that it really my career really started when I want to say 20. I had been doing a ton of stuff before that, but I got
What stuff?
Reception. I worked at like the law school at Stanford at the law library.
Did
like
you go to Stanford?
no, but I got a job there and it was really cool. And I did, like receptionist jobs. I worked that same real estate agent, like brought me into her office to work. And so it was always something, always working. And so,
but with people also, like interfacing
always
with people, and
with people.
dealing with people. And
Yeah, it's a
getting things
superpower.
done, logistic wise, and just like making sure people are in the right place
Yeah.
and getting the things they need. Yeah.
It's the thing that always is where I feel more like at home is with people, right? Is to deal with people. Yeah. And so I would say like it really started, I was probably about 20. This was back when .com was kind of still a big thing.
Were you in school?
Yeah, I was going to San Jose State.
San Jose State.
And I started working for Invisalign. And Invisalign was just this idea. And there was a machine in a basement in Sunnyvale with a black cloth over it. And they were making like one aligner like a day just because that's all they could do.
Wow.
And it was back when I joke that you had to have a pulse to have a job. It was just like a pulse to get a job. It was just so easy to get jobs. There were so many jobs and not enough people.
Wow.
And they had posted, I was at the law school, and they had posted for a receptionist. And so I went and interviewed, and it was like, hey, when can you start? Like tomorrow? And I was like, okay, sure.
You're like, I have a pulse.
Yeah.
I can start.
And I didn't quite understand yet that it was like that. And
what made you want to go get a job just to continue like
I was always working. I was at school, going to school, but working. Like there wasn't an option to like be fun college. It was about working and going to school. So
what? Okay, let's pause for a second.
Yeah.
What was it from your childhood that made you want to go pass flyers out? Was it something instilled from your parents or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think my dad was always teaching us that lesson, and we didn't just get things, and so you had to earn them. And so in order to earn them, you had to have money. And so
do you have siblings?
I do. I have one sister.
Older or younger?
Older.
Was she working also?
Yeah, always. We always have been. Yeah. So it's always been that for me. Wow. And yeah. So when I started, I think this is a pivotal moment for me that happened at Invisalign. So I got there and it was day one, and I walked up to the second floor of this building, and the woman that was going to be my manager was like, okay, so this is the desk. There's not a chair. And I think there's a computer in the box over there. And I need you to figure it out.
Setting you up for success.
And she walked away. And I remember standing there going like, okay, like this is all on me. If I don't do this, then it's going to fail, And so I literally went around, introduced myself to people. I found a chair. I unboxed the computer. And it was literally the touch point for everyone that was coming in. And again, it was like, so hi, nice to meet you. Hi, nice to meet you. It was just like so fast. And so from there, I got pulled in to do a bunch of different things because we were a startup, right? So I did a very young startup, and now in my older life doing startup now. So it's kind of like all comes together. Wow. But
so that was your first like real job in a sense?
I would say like my first real job. Yeah. And so, so I started doing a bunch of stuff, and people started realizing that like I could get it done, right? And so I remember they wanted to do this like trip, and they asked me to plan the trip. I'd never done that before, and obviously since then I've done a lot of that. But
and also, Andie, it looked quite different back then, booking trips.
Oh,
it was travel agent.
Yeah.
You couldn't really do much online back then.
No, and I had to like rent things. I had to rent some like condos and
call people on the phone.
Yeah, it was very different, and I think that was what put me in front of a lot of people. And so, not too long after that, the woman who was supporting the founder of the company, his name was Zia, and she brought me in a room and said, so Kelsey, who was the other founder, she needs an EA, and we need that to be you. And I was like, what's an EA?
Were you finished with school yet?
Oh no, I was in school. Yeah. So it was just like an opportunity, like you couldn't say no to it. And back in the day, they offered you a salary in stock, and it was like you weren't an hourly anymore, and it was really like crazy, right? And so I said, yeah, let's do that. And so I went and met her, and her and I clicked, and that was kind of what I think opened my eyes to this support role that I've always been in. And she was a very young founder, and she was all over the place, and we were managing at that point, like magazines and interviews, and it was like the first time I heard about like equity and stock. I mean, I was like 21 years old, not even 21 years old. I didn't know what equity and stock was, right? And so it was a huge learning lesson for me. And I think that's kind of what put me in the direction of this for my career. So
you were there through college, effectively, like while
Yeah,
you're in school.
yeah.
You're taking classes.
yeah, and doing it
And what was that like logistically?
at night. You went to school at night.
You went to school at
Yeah.
night. So you worked all day.
Yeah.
Your brain is exhausted.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
you have to go learn school things?
Yeah. That was the only way to make it work. It was the only way. Yeah. And I was there when we went IPO, and we did the IPO party. I planned the IPO party, which was, it was small then,
See, I find this so interesting with working at startups. Like obviously there's traditional roles to fill, and those are great. They have to be filled. But the beauty of working at a startup is you get to wear, a dozen hats. It's like one day you're doing this, next day you're doing this, the next day you're doing that.
Yeah. I've always had this thing.
Like us in Dubai.
Right. Because I've hired a lot of people, and I've always said, like, on paper and for job recs, you have to have a job description, right? You have to do that in order to like hire someone. But I don't believe in a job description personally. Because if you fit in a job description, then nothing would get done. That's how I feel about the work that I do. If I stayed within what was on that paper, then really who was going to do the rest? And so I always say that, especially in support roles. I've hired a lot of admin, and I always say, like, it's always all the things all the time, And so
that's the way it feels here.
Yeah, right. And so you've seen it in action, and at Invisalign it was the same thing. And
so you were there when it was a tiny startup.
Yeah.
And then you were there all the way through IPO.
Yeah. And then
did you go to New York and ring the bell with them?
No.
But
No.
it happened, right?
So I actually left for a little while, and I came back as a contractor. So I don't know, this is like old history, but Invisalign had a lawsuit against them from general dentists saying that they wanted to be able to diagnose and do Invisalign in their offices. We were only selling to orthodontists. And so it went through this whole trial phase, and what came out of it was that we as a company had to train general dentists. That was what we had to do in the settlement. And so we had to create a program where we went on the weekends all over the country, and we had to train dentists in 2 days on how to do Invisalign. So
from making to
like doing the molding, the diagnosis, the sending the aligners through.
Because the lawsuit basically was like, oh, this is unfair that it's only, or whatever it was.
Yeah, because general dentists did a class action lawsuit against Invisalign, so that was the ruling.
And they wanted it sort of more accessible to people.
So now general dentists, they do it.
I feel like so many people have Invisalign.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So one of the things that I did is I came on and I went on the road, and I would on Thursdays and Fridays pack these huge trunks with everything that we needed, and I would plan all of the stuff at the hotel. So I would like book the food, I'd book the room, I'd book the AV, and then I would be on site.
Did you have anyone on your team?
No, it was just, I had someone that I reported to, but like there was like
to get all of.
Oh no, we did it. There was like another building where like the trunks would be there. We'd make sure there was like enough pamphlets. There was enough. We had to have like molds of teeth, and we had to have aligners. Like we had to make sure that everything was there. And then
was it to make sales, or were the sales already done?
No,
and
it was
just onboarding people.
It was that they needed to learn how to do it in their office.
So it was
once they were trained by us, then they were official. Once they came to this 2 day.
You weren't like, you've seen the Pursuit of Happiness, right? Where Will Smith's going around with the thing and showing off the thing. It's like, please buy this. Like, no, this was like to show the dentists how to do.
Yep, exactly.
And you were the one doing the demonstrations?
No. I was the logistics person. So we had like
you probably could have.
We had one salesperson that got up and did the things, and then we had these orthodontic partners that we hired that were like already selling the product, and so they would be there, and then they would do those technical things on day 2 where they would actually show how to like take impressions and like how to fit the aligners. And then at the end you put it all back, clean it all up, get labels and ship it all out, and then you go back home and you do it all over again. So it was almost every weekend for a little over a year. So it was all over the country. So that was like another kind of takes you to the logistics, and which is something that I do, and it takes you to like the planning and all the things that come with like the jobs I've done over my life. I think that was like a big part of it. It was exciting, because you see now like in commercials and stores in the mall and things like that, and it's like, wow.
It's really
it was literally one small machine with like a black cloth over it that could, I think, maybe make one in a very long time.
That is
unbelievable. Yeah.
Did you get Invisalign?
So it's so funny. Zia would have people come in and he needed to show them the product. And so he had liners made and he'd have me walk in and pop them in and show how easy it was to pop them in and out. So, yeah, I technically wasn't like fixing my teeth, but
it was really, I mean, you did like half a dozen jobs there. Like truly, like you filled the role.
I never feel that way though.
Totally,
but yeah.
totally. Because I mean, you're a go-getter.
Yeah.
Hence why you're here.
Yeah.
Hence why you're at Apple. Okay. So the end of your Invisalign time.
Yeah, so I did things like commercial plumbing sales, which is kind of random. I like got a job at like a commercial plumbing place.
This is post-grad.
Yep,
Like
and then
you graduated college.
No, I didn't. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't because I got this job and I was making really great money and
the Invisalign job.
Yeah, and
so you
I was
dropped out?
yeah.
Or you just didn't finish?
I didn't finish.
Guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had a lot of work to do, you know? And I feel like for myself, I'm never one of those people that's like, don't go to college. But for me, I learned and got where I am by working very hard and learning and being around really smart people and watching people and learning. And like,
you take the initiative.
So that's kind of where that is. So yeah, so to be very honest. So yeah, so
Can we just pause for a second, Colin?
Yeah.
Can we fix Andie's camera? There's a lot of like weird negative space on the left. Just fix it. Take the 10 seconds and just make it look good.
That's how I had it before.
But I punched in. I don't want so much of this. I just want.
Better?
I need to wait 15 seconds. But I trust you. Okay. Okay. So after after Invisalign, you kept working on Invisalign, or you went to this?
So then I ended up that stuff kind of ended, and things are very different once you go public and all that, and so I did a stint at this where I got a job at a commercial plumbing place, and very very quickly I was asked to go do commercial sales. So there was these women that were in a different room and they sold all of it to like big jobs, and very short time in they're like, why don't you come do this with us? And I was like, sure. I had never done it before. So I learned a lot about like job sites and plumbing and plumbing supplies and bids and all that kind of stuff. So again, doing a lot of different things, I thought
learning as you're going.
Absolutely.
In a sense,
Yeah. And then from there I went to a company called Blue Coat.
Here in the Bay still?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I knew this woman who was a VP there, and she needed an EA, and I went with
executive assistant.
Yep, executive assistant, and I went and worked with her there. She ended up leaving, and then the channel marketing team was like, "Do you want to come work with us?"
Oh my God.
So I started doing that, and then we were a publicly traded company, and then they decided to become a private company. So they bought all of us out, and things changed very rapidly, and things were night and day different. And I knew that it wasn't something I didn't. And so I had said, put me on the first round of layoffs, because at that point everyone was, there was a lot of layoffs. Invisalign was one thing in the economy, and this was a different. And I was like, put me on that first round because you got more. And no lie, I had said that, and I want to say it was days later that I got an inbox message on Facebook from a very dear friend that I went to high school with. Her name was Lisa Gonzalez, and
Hi, Lisa.
she's the best, and she worked at Apple, and she was supporting Scott Forstall. And
here's where this gets.
So
good.
this is, and so she said, "Hey, I noticed because I had posted some things on Facebook. She goes, I noticed that you've supported women, and we have a job here for a VP in iOS, and we'd love for you to come talk." And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever.
Oh my God.
So her and I had lunch at BJ's. So aisle 7, if all the Apple people know that. And I met her, and we connected, and she's like,
what year are we in now?
Oh man, we're in 2012.
Okay.
We're in 2012. Yeah.
Okay. So
gosh, that's a long time ago.
So,
we're in 2012.
So it's over 10 years ago.
I know.
Which feels like it was 4 years ago.
I know.
So this was post iPhone.
So
this was post jobs.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So Steve. So Tim was already CEO, and so I literally started talking to her, and then I got I got laid off, and then.
Well, you asked to be laid off.
Yeah, I mean, which was fine. It was really good, and then I went and talked to her, and then I went through the craziest interview process, which was insane. So many memorable moments from that.
Wow, you still remember the interview
process?
process?
Yeah, it was the most terrifying. I mean, when you're not an Apple, it's a big beast and it's scary. And it's like, I can't believe I'm here. And like, this is insane. And so these people are coming in one after another, after another, after another. And you're just like, I hope I'm saying the right things. I hope this is like getting across. Because although I knew Lisa, it was still my job to get. Like,
Did
I
she
had to
interview
get.
you also?
Well, we had lunch and she
Okay,
knew
okay.
that it could work.
Okay, cool.
And so
Now I just want to sort of ask, Apple was Apple your first tech company? Like, was Invisalign considered a tech company back then? It's more of like a medical sort of...
device company is what they called it. But I mean,
Okay.
like we were like, there was a lot of technology, right?
Sure, but
For sure.
in
But
no
it was
way
called the
it
medical
like-
device company.
And did you ever want to, like, when you were a kid? I mean, you're from here, right? You grew up in Silicon Valley. Did you ever want to?
It was never anything.
That you would never.
If
were
I'm
like,
going to be honest,
yeah.
that was something that other people did. That's crazy talk. You know what I mean? That's like, when you think of Apple, you think of like people that are like building devices that are creating
like,
software. That's crazy talk.
engineers,
Yeah. That was never
yeah.
anything in my view, because it was just not in anything I ever thought about, because that just seemed so big, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think I ever didn't think about it. I don't think I ever really thought about it. But like, it wasn't like it didn't feel like an option maybe.
And it also seems like you sort of were just, surfing the wave of life, so to speak. You know, where it's
like there was always opportunities, right?
Exactly right.
And then-
and that's the way Apple happened too. You got a random
Yes.
Facebook message from a
Yes.
high school friend, and all of a sudden it was like,
It's fate.
not at Apple, and then, oh my God, Apple
It's
is
fate.
now in your purview.
And you
It's
never want to
fate.
be, especially, I mean, I was young, right? But like,
Yep.
you don't want to be like job to job to job to job, you know? And I remember when I went to Apple, one of the biggest things in my interview was that I want to be part of something. Like, I don't want to, like, I used to say, like, I want to be part of the wallpaper. Like, I don't want to just go to this. And like, I was really ready, because I think I was like 29 maybe at that point, 29. And I was like starting to understand like who I was and what I was capable of.
Amazing.
And so I was
Amazing.
like, I kind of want to like not jump around anymore. And so that was one thing I talked to Lisa about, because she had been there for a very long time. And I was like, and she's like, yeah, this is the place where you like kind of dig in, right?
What was she doing there?
She was supporting Scott Forstall, who was running iOS at the time. So she was his EA. She worked very closely with Steve and Steve's EA. So she has a lot of really good stories too. Yeah.
Wow. And
Yeah.
you still speak with her? I'm
Yeah,
guessing?
she's in Austin now. No, she's in Texas, somewhere in Texas.
Okay.
And she still works for Apple out there. I mean, she's Apple. I call her Apple royalty, because she's been around for a long time.
For over 10 years.
Oh, she's been there for now. I don't even know. It's probably like 20.
Wow.
But she's done a lot of things, seen a lot of things, been a part of a lot of really big things.
Unreal.
Yeah.
So then, did you get to work with her?
Yep. Yeah,
You
I did, which was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, which was
Like,
really,
it's
she
just
taught me a lot.
Thinking about that thought, like in my head, like I'm thinking about my high school friends. It's like sort of like working with Colin, I guess. But Colin and I met each other in New York 4 or 5 years ago. But it's just like it probably was just such a fun, awesome
It was
feeling.
comfort.
It's
Even though it'd been a
comfort.
long time, we like, that was social media, right?
you sort of- you're
there were no
following
more
along.
there were no more high school reunions, right? It was all on Facebook, and I watched her have babies. I watched her get married, and so her and I reconnected. And one of the most fun things with her was we started walking, and we would go at lunch and we'd walk all behind Apple, and we'd go up this overpass and back.
You were at One Infinite Loop?
Yeah.
This was
So we were in
pre-spaceship, right?
we were in Infinite Loop 2 first. And so we would walk all the way to the back, and it was like the time that we would catch up and we would talk. And there was so many times where I would run through scenarios with her and like, how do I do this, and how do I fix this, or how do I do, how do I manage this?
Without getting too specific here, high level, like what was your role there?
So I started as an executive assistant to a VP in software engineering.
Which is something that you were just thrown into, right? It's
Well, yeah, like I didn't really know what software engineering was, but I had to learn.
You learned.
Yep. And when I started, that team was 268 people. And so there was just the EA supporting that. So it was very early on that I realized, like, wow, there needs to be some change here. But yeah, so I did everything.
You were able to hire?
Yeah, 3 months in.
You
Yeah.
built out a team.
Yeah.
Under AA. Andie Adragna built out a
Yes.
team at Apple starting 3 months in.
And my very first hire was Trang Wong, who I love and adore, and is still at Apple doing really big things.
Oh my God.
Shout out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you, within Apple, have, different sort of roles? Because Apple, if you really think about it, maybe it was a startup at some point. Now it's I think still one of the biggest tech companies in the world. Like, were you sort of moving as fast and doing as many different things as you were doing at Invisalign at Apple,
more.
or was
way
wow,
more?
I was gonna guess that it was more focused. No, way
No,
more.
it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
So think about it. It's a VP that has teams under, and that in that moment was equaling 280 people. So I was supporting a VP calendar and all the logistics around that, and like managing that, and then all the people that reported in, like everything from does your badge work to what computer do you need, I onboarded all the new hires. I could go on and on, but
my
every single
goodness.
thing, like, do the batteries run out? Do you need water? Do you need coffee? Like, what is it? It was all the things. That's why I say, like, if I had only done that job description that I got on day one, nothing would be done.
Wow.
Nothing would
Wow,
happen.
right, you have
And
to go above
I
and
think if
beyond.
you talk to most
Yeah.
EAs that are successful, they'll tell you the same thing.
Yeah, because you have you get a pretty clear picture of every facet of the things that need to get done from the lowest level to the high level, and then you can start filling in the gaps where you see fit.
Yeah.
Where, like, if you see something that you're looking around and no one's really paying attention to that thing,
You got it. Yeah. Yeah, and I can't.
you just got to step
And
up
you
and
know,
do
like,
it.
I can't not let it get done. That won't happen either.
I mean, I've only been here 4 or 5 months, and I already have stories of watching Andie in action, just really making things that were, I mean, we were told no.
We don't
you know?
no isn't in our vocabulary.
And
Imran Chaudhry has really taught me that,
we make them
actually.
happen.
Yeah.
we make them happen.
Yeah. So I had to do it
So your time at Apple was from 2012
until 2019.
until 2019.
Yeah, I was in software engineering for the majority of it, and then right towards the end in June, before I left in October, I switched over to hardware because my VP went over to hardware, and so it was a very big switch in a way. Software was home. Software was everybody and all the people and all the things, and so I also had a team at that point of, I don't know if there was 8 or 10 of them. 2 of them work here actually at Humane now, which is pretty awesome.
Pat
and Monique.
Oh,
Yes.
Monique also was at Apple.
Both on the
Wow.
recruiting team, so it makes my heart really happy.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah. And so, we had to break up, and that was hard. And so, they had to be
So
reorged.
they were on your team.
Yeah.
Did you hire them?
Uh-huh. Yeah, all of them.
God, wow.
So then when we went to hardware, right, everything had to be reorged. So they got reorged. And this team that I built there, it was insane. It was the most incredible experience with the most incredible people. And I got to build out a lot of things, and we got to build out a lot of things together. And we created really great systems that actually got passed on to certain parts of the software too. And so that was a really, really hard day. It was one of my hardest days, was putting them in a room. We went to a building.
Man.
We went to like a building that wasn't filled with people yet. It was an Apple building that we got access to when we put them in a room, and I bought all their favorite junk food, and I was like, we have to talk. And it was really hard. It was really hard.
It's literally, Andie, like a breakup.
It was hard. And I still we still talk. We're on a text message thread, and we still care deeply for one another. We just brought someone here to meet up with Pat and Monique, one of our coworkers, Lori. We still love and care about each other. It was a really cool thing.
I can't overstate the bonds that you create, and you can definitely attest to this. Like, there's just something so special about coworkers. It's like,
it's the coolest friend.
They become, right. It's like they become that you have this relationship with them, and it's like they're your ride or dies. You're in
and
this
that's
together, and it's like you are inherently friends because you work together. At least that's the way I feel here.
The thing is you're here 8 to 10 to 12, gosh knows how many hours per day, and they're the people who understand everything you're going through.
Right, because we're all in this together.
Yeah, and you could go home and say to your spouse, your partner, your friend, this thing happened. They're like, okay, like they don't get it. They're not in it. These people get it. And you're with them sometimes more than your family. And so they become...
Wow, it's so true.
They're more... Yeah, you spend more time with them than your family.
True. Yeah, wow.
So they become really, really, really important and special. And I live my life really big around loyalty and trust. And these were people that I had loyalty to. Oh, gosh. And they had loyalty to me. And I trusted
Apple, your
them.
team. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and I trusted them. And so... it was really great. And like, I was always so proud of them because they were seen within the software organization as being the ones that got it done and like
Amazing.
being the ones that like had ideas that spread, And so
Because they had Andie leading the charge.
well, I mean, sure, but they're good. They're amazing people, and some of them are still at Apple. And then I've done reference, calls for them when they've gone to other companies, and I'm just like, you don't understand, like they're the best, and so they're all doing their thing. But it was really special, and like they saw, a lot changed at Apple from when I started. So like when I started, it was 260 in that organization. When I went to hardware, it was close to like 7 and change. Like it was over 700 people.
Wow.
So in that time, our team grew, and then with that, you have to get support and then we moved buildings and we moved zip codes. You know what I mean? So there's so much that has to happen along the way. I mean, I think you see this here too, is that, if you can't change, you're going to get left behind. And that's the thing I've had to learn. And sometimes there are certain things that change that are very hard to stomach. And sometimes they like hurt and you have to have that moment to like digest it. But if you stay in it, you're never going to get better. And that's the thing I learned. And I try to teach them was like, things will continue to change and they're going to be like even with us having to break apart, like you are now going to be in front of different people and you're now going to have more opportunity. And now you're going to like see a different part of this organization. You have to see that.
It's just like human nature inherently, I think, to be resistant to change. Change is hard. But also it's like adapt or die. You know, stagnation leads to,
Yeah. But it's really hard. There are so many people in the world that just don't want it. And that's why they stay doing the same thing. But
you have it in you, Andie. You want it. You have the drive. You're born with this.
Well, yeah, and I chose this. I chose an environment.
Chose you.
I chose an environment and said yes to an environment that from early on, even going back to Apple, it changes. And so sometimes, like I told you, it's sometimes it's harder than others. It's sometimes it's physical, because Bethany and I talk about this a lot. Is I wear my heart on my sleeve, and it's a blessing it's a blessing and a curse. So some days it's a blessing and some days it's a curse, because when those type of changes happen, it kind of like hurts your heart and you're like, ugh, this hurts.
But this is all part of growth.
Yeah. So you have to be able to like have the hurt or whatever with the change, and then be able to be like, all right, I felt that. I owned it. I acknowledged it.
Tomorrow's a new day.
Move on. Yeah. Yeah. So
okay, I have 2 questions.
Sure.
Number 1, working at a gigantic company like Apple, just out of curiosity, how many people's names would you say, like how many people did you sort of know working at Apple?
It's so funny because a lot of them are still on my phone, and I like will look through and I'm just like,
it's got to be hundreds, right? Like when I got here, I was like, I want to learn everyone's names. You got to say hi to everyone. And it's like, yeah, I've probably learned like over 100 people's names.
And it's really funny when like a stranger will say, oh, you worked at Apple. Did you know so-and-so? And when it collided, you're like, oh my God, it collided. I do know that name, because there's so many names. But so you got to figure, when I first started, I remember at like the 260, 280, I remember learning everybody's name by walking the floors and looking at their offices and going inside their offices and learning who they were. And then it got to a point when we got to like 600 and 700, we would be in.
But this is just on your team. There's thousands of people that work at Apple.
So like within the team, it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, probably 500 people. There was more than that, but like that I could say, like, I know your name, I know your face. And then within the job that I did, I had to go outside of my group a lot. Like I was booking executive reviews. So I was booking reviews with like
talking to people that are not in your department.
Absolutely.
Like
so they're
scary.
So like they're EAs, right? So you're bringing all of these really important people together to make really big decisions, but you then have to, and then you have to learn your place, right? Because I would be,
how can you step in? What do you?
Oh yeah, and I would be reaching out to admin who were supporting direct reports to Tim, and so I then had to. So then you step back, and they take the lead. Then there were times that I got to take the lead, but like for them. So
and you have to learn the intricacies and the nuance
of
like
game, man.
Reading body language and like.
Well, and you got to know who's who too, and when you can So like if I'm asking for time,
and that is not a skill you can read in a textbook.
No, you learn it.
This is like human intuition.
Well, and I worked really hard. I dealt with a lot of incredible EAs at Apple that I was like, one day I want to be like you, like I want to grow up and be like you.
Wow.
And I really focused on understanding my place and understanding my role and getting to know them, because then when I would send the note, or I would email, or I would call, they'd answer. And so they would always help me and accommodate, and I would always make sure that they knew how great I thought they were, and like how thankful. And so it's like, that's why I'm saying it's like life is learned in the moment, right? Like I can't go.
Wow, quote that. Life is learned in the
in
moment.
these moments. Like I can't go to school for that. I can't go to school for the things I learned about relationships with EAs. Like I can't do that.
Totally.
But
You
like,
have to just be in
even
it.
here, depending on who we're reaching out to, like where,
No, you're okay.
like where I stand, like where do I have a little bit more
like what kind of
authority,
things can you lean into
right,
a little bit more?
right.
Exactly.
And so Apple, I did a lot of that, and I remember having to call some of those really high up EAs when I left, and I called a few of them, and I was like, I literally was like, you taught me so much, like so much, and you were always so good to me. And
you can look back, Andie, on your time at Apple and visualize your growth.
Yeah.
Like think about what you were like at Apple as like baby Andie, coming in there, and then when you left, you're like,
so
yeah, you know.
So I do say, like, I worked since I was 13 years old, but I grew up at Apple. I went
to Apple University. So
I had a career. That was where I would say.
Wow.
That's wrong. I guess my
we
career
have
started.
multiple careers.
Yeah,
I would think.
But it's where I grew up. It's where I gained like confidence. I mean, I actually have another like big moment there that we could talk about later, but it was with Bethany. But
yeah, that was my other question. How did you meet Bethany?
So I met Bethany on day one.
What?
Bethany was already there. Yeah, so she was the program manager.
You met Bethany on your first day at Apple.
She didn't interview me though. No, she was not in the interview, but I met her on day one. Yep.
You have a memory of meeting Bethany?
Oh
for the
yeah,
first time?
I met Beth. Yeah, and she was like.
Oh my God, that's
the coolest, right? You're always like, you're so cool.
Yep, she is cool.
Always all over the place. And she worked very, very closely with my boss. And so I had to work with her very close for meetings and things like that. And so that's kind of where all of that has come from, was her and I having to work really close together.
And you didn't know her before this?
No.
Did you know anyone else at Apple? Because you grew up in...
No. Well, not in my group.
That's what I mean.
Like, I knew people who worked at Apple, but I was never around them. I mean, that's how big it is. You're never around them.
I mean, it's like, I guess maybe when people start jobs, they don't really know people there, but like to me that feels like going to a brand new high school where you don't know anyone. It's like you're thrown into a team, integrated into this team that's hundreds of people, and one person there.
It's scary.
You have to, and you build this whole network.
Like the first, I mean, for you, it's probably a little different because you got to meet us a little bit beforehand. But like first week at your job is like.
I mean, we can ask Colin.
I mean,
we can switch here and put Colin in here for a second.
Like
we should.
knew, like,
I kind of want to.
Colin was a friendly,
Yes.
so that I think helps, right?
Yes.
But like. That first week is like,
it's chaos.
I just need to make it to Friday at 5 to say that I did the first week, and I just need to like hold on, because you're like trying to prove yourself, and you're trying to meet people, and you're trying the memorization of the names and like how are things done here. And also too, I say this whenever I've dealt with people or supported people, is like, I have a way that I do it. It's not right. It's how I do it. And so can I learn? I need to learn.
Can I tell you, that is how I operate also.
Yeah.
I think you and me, we operate on intuition a lot.
Yeah, because like in the moment, for you it's right, but like when I'm supporting executive, like my way of doing it may not be the way that they. So I'll say, I would say like, hey, here's how I've done it. Do you want to do it that way, or do you want to do it different? And so
you have this, you have what in your heart, what feels right.
Yeah.
And then there's like the reality of like, okay, so you might have to like go against what to be in your intuition, but in the moment you might have to adjust.
And sometimes you think
part of learning, right?
And sometimes you think it's totally wrong, but you have to do it anyway, and then you have to grow and learn, right? It may not be the way I want to do it. Something as silly as color coding a calendar. There are a lot of people who color code calendars. There's a lot of people who look at weekly view of calendars. It's not how I roll. But if I met an executive who I needed to change that for, I would change it. I hate color coded calendars. It makes me crazy. But people color code calendars because it's like, this is this kind of meeting. This is a hardware meeting. This is this meeting. But and if someone says, well, I want you to color code my calendar, then guess what? fucking color-coded
You
calendar.
do it.
I'm not going to be like, sorry, I don't love color-coded calendars, you know, but there's something about it because when you look at it, you know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So
And
there's
that-
some good things to it.
And that sort of like, again, like those little details, those little idiosyncrasies just sort of like bubble up and boom, there's like, I mean, you do like my first day. I mean, even your correspondence to me when I was like making my way here, I was just like Andie just is this cohesion of the company, you know, in my view, where it's like, you know, everyone, you're texting me directly and like just like priming me and getting me ready and helping me like with the laptop and my first day and like all this stuff, you know, and that's
Those things are important.
it's a superpower.
Thank
It's like
you. They're important.
You create this. I mean, we can even get Colin in here and get Colin's opinion on what his first week was too. But like from my perspective, it's like, yeah, you are very, very good at what you do here.
Thank
you know,
you.
and I quickly saw how, you know, how much you get done here in terms of like there's not that many people working here yet, you know. So we
Oh my God, are you sure about that?
We all do.
Like, it feels like a lot.
We all do a lot of different things. So Bethany called you and said, "Hey, you know,
So
we're
yeah,
doing
so
something
I
new."
have a
Like,
really fun memory. I met Imran very late, like
Okay.
before he left, and
Okay.
you know, Imran was like a celebrity, right? He was like a celebrity, and I remember he'd walk down the hall and I'd be like, "Hello, good morning," you know.
So you had a camaraderie with Imran.
Not really, not at Apple, not till
No.
after, because I
Ah.
only really met him
But
towards
you were
the end.
you were
'Cause
friends with Bethany.
Bethany, yeah. So Bethany I worked with her every day. I saw her every day. Bethany would always come to my office to get a badge and to get keys for her office. And so, you know, that's how you bond. And so yeah, so then, okay. So I knew she was leaving and I was like devastating because it's like, oh my God, your person.
I mean, she's your daily. She's
Well,
your,
yeah,
you
and it's the
know?
person that just gets it that you could look at and be like, wow, this really sucked. And they're like, she's like, yeah, I know. But then she's also like, get it together, you know, get it together.
You guys help each other.
Yeah. And so I remember hearing they were leaving at the same time and saying to a coworker, whatever they're doing is going to be big. I remember sitting in my office saying, if they're leaving and they're leaving together, something's going to be big. I just knew it.
This
and
is a while ago, Andie.
oh
This
yeah, we're
is
talking
2016.
16. Yeah. And then I remember she was sitting on the couch in front of me and I was like, I don't know what you're doing. And she's like, don't worry, we'll work together again someday. But you hear that and you're like,
She's just being nice or
and
whatever.
you,
She just
you
sort
sort
like,
of just like process that. So that's a really, really fun memory. And her
Wow.
leaving was hard because she was such a big piece and she had a really big team. And we threw her a little party outside at Apple. Yeah, like that was a tough one, you know? And then we stayed in contact
and you stayed at Apple.
yeah.
And then, from what I understand, you helped bring to life the spaceship, right?
Oh yeah.
You
So
worked on some of that stuff.
So when I first started in 2012, I remember being in a room and them saying, "Okay, we need to start planning for Apple Park," and I was like, "What? They haven't even dug the hole yet. What are you talking
Holy
about?"
smokes,
And we
wow.
had to give our numbers. So remember, that was 2012, and we were 260. Just my team, software, God knows that number.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time that we were able to go, which was 2018, I think we went. We could only take a small portion of our team because there was already not enough room for the company because we grew so much from when they conceptualized it to when you moved in, right? And so I remember sitting with my team and these maps of the sections of the building, and it was like, wow, like how is this going to work? We don't have enough people, and we did a lot of planning, and it was really scary for people because we were going from this, I would say everyone had an office. There was no open seating, and only hardware had open seating. And for software, that was very foreign to have any type of open seating. And so the word was getting around because we were taking tours and we were seeing this open seating concept, and people were a little bit abuzz and kind of freaking out. And everything was glass, so you saw through everything. And the only people that had their own space was like a VP or a director, senior director. And so people were freaking out, and they come to you freaked out, and you're like, it's fine, it's cool, but you're like really freaked out too. And then we have to like move everyone, and then we have to pack everyone, and then we have to, and I remember this wonderful team that I'm talking to you about, they had move dates and move plans. And then we did like, okay, it's move day. We brought cupcakes and coffee and like, how do we make this feel a little less scary? And so we did that, I thought, really well to get people. And then we, we hand delivered things to their offices to pack and all that. And then the very first move-in day, my team met up in a parking lot at a Starbucks at like 5:30 a.m., everybody. And I remember I have a photo of that first day of the sun coming up. And we all stopped. I remember we were like, bang, 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 bang. And then we stopped and I was like, oh my God, the sun's coming up. Wow, this is insane.
That was the day you guys moved in.
The day we moved in, yeah. And so they dropped off basically crates and all these things, and then we had to unpack it and deliver it and basically therapize people to help them with their new space and like accepting that things were different. And it's really beautiful and it's all those things, but it's also like very big and spacious.
So
and
by
a
the
lot.
time you left, Andie, you were working in there full time.
I was working in Apple
Hit
Park.
You got it? It's when it turns off, the record button usually takes it back on. So you were there.
I was working Apple Park, and then right before I went into hardware, I went to Sunnyvale. So I worked in a Sunnyvale building for a little while. So I was mainly in, Infinite Loop, and then Apple Park, and then we worked back and forth Apple Park and Sunnyvale.
Now, I've been to the Apple Park Visitor Center. I actually went with Colin in 2018.
Oh, where you can stand on the top and look in?
Yes,
But I think the trees are too high now, right?
I haven't been there. We were there for TwitchCon 2018 because it was in San Jose, California. And I remember being there. We picked up a bunch of T-shirts from there because they only sell the Apple Garmin T-shirts there, which they printed on the sweatshirts in 1986, which I have. And I remember looking in the distance, and I'm like, that is literally an alien spaceship that not crash landed, but came down to Earth.
I remember driving every day down Prune Ridge, and then all of a sudden one day Prune Ridge stopped.
Wow.
And they put a fence up. And every day for 4.5 years, 5 years, I watched the hole be dug. I watched the first, you watched it every single day. I would make the left at Prune Ridge to get to Deanza. And so literally I would go all the way through.
So well.
But like I would watch. And so I'm like, oh, wow, today I would get to work. I'm like, oh, today I saw this, and then.
So you saw it come to life.
Digging the hole was the biggest thing, right? And then you saw like the parking garages come up. And then there was always all the rumor about, where are you going to enter? That was the big thing, was can you enter from the Prune Ridge side? And of course you could enter from the Prune Ridge side.
Wow.
But it became this thing that became a part of every single day. I would look every single day. And I remember like watching the visitor center pop up because that was on the right-hand side. And
I just want to understand the scale. Like it's gigantic.
Oh, it's huge. It's so big. I mean, the building alone, the middle of the building, all around the building, it's huge.
It's gigantic.
Yeah, but like, okay. So like if you were to get there on day one, you're gonna be like, this is huge. But then once you walk it and understand it, it doesn't feel so big.
Because your brain understands like you create a mental map.
And you learn how to time it. So if I had to go pick up something, then it's like I need 15 minutes or whatever sometimes, depending on where you're going. Yeah. And then like the parking garage was way back over on like 280 and Wolf.
Wow.
And then you'd park there, and then you'd come down the hill, and like, there's like, I forget which building number it was because now I can't remember. But if you were on this side of the building, you either walk right through or you walk around. So and then like where you are to the cafeteria, because the Apple Cafe Max was. So depending, you'd have to plan, right? So it is. I mean, if you ever can have the opportunity, I think that you, especially with like all the things that you do and like the appreciation you have, I think you would get a kick out of it. It's a marvel. It's pretty. But I mean, it's also where you work. And it's also has its set of challenges. And isn't perfect.
When you've seen it from
the
inside.
But it's beautiful. It's 1,000% beautiful.
Yeah. I remember, Colin, on the corner where they had that like iPad AR demo thing and that like big open glass room, and it's like that's like a sliver of like what it tastes like over there.
You know what was so cool too was
and, like, the staircase is made out of marble.
Oh
yeah, like God, so nice. Yeah, well, go ahead.
I remember when they were building it and they were building out our chunk, we used to be able to go and check in, and we were building conference rooms based on what we were doing in our team. And really cool thing was I got to sit in the meetings and say like, did you think of this? Did you think that we might need this? Did you think we should have this? And they changed and they put my name. I remember they put my name on the construct. Wait, what is it called? The plans. And I remember it said Adragna, and I remember sitting there going like, dude, my name is on the plans of Apple Park because I helped them figure out how that conference room would best fit for us. So I was able to be like,
That's dope.
yeah, because I went in there and I was like, you guys didn't think about any of the things we need this for. And so that was kind of fun. So, and then I got to I have this awesome picture that I have framed of my whole team in hard hats and vests. And we got to walk in before anyone ever lived there and see it, which was really a fun moment.
Sick.
Yeah, it's a really fun moment.
Just the memories that you have up in that brain of yours from, years at Apple. Because it was like, I forget what I was watching or who said it, but it was like Apple wasn't always, what Apple is today. And I started really paying attention to Apple when I got my MacBook in high school in 2007. And then it was like the iPhone came out, everyone was like, there was like everyone was like, that thing's stupid. And then everyone else was like, wow, that thing's so futuristic and innovative. And then the iPhone became like the biggest thing in the world. And I just remember like looking at what Apple was in terms of like products, leadership, the stock price, and like sort of like what it was in like 2010, basically. Like I was in college, sure, but I was also like you working at Engadget at the time and like really paying attention to the tech landscape. And to me, it quickly became very clear that Apple was onto something, and like I feel like from 2010, 11, 12 to now is basically like, Apple went from
so much,
whatever it was, like 100 billion. Someone looked this up, but it was probably like anywhere from 100 to 500 billion dollars in market cap, and it was like, could Apple go even higher? Will Apple be the first $1 trillion company?
I remember when it was.
And then will Apple be the first $2 trillion? And then during the craziness of last year, Apple hit $3 trillion.
I remember the day it was $1 trillion. That was like a super fun day because it was like, what is that word?
You can't,
that's crazy.
It's unfathomable.
And I always talk about my Apple career. I want to say I started at 5 or 5S when it shipped, and then I left at 11. So I was like iPhone 5 or 5S all the way through till 11 was the last phone that I saw ship.
2012, I believe, was the 5S.
Yeah, that makes sense.
5S, one of those.
Yeah. So I always talk like that's when I got there, and then I left at 11.
I want to swap places. You can ask Colin how his first week is going.
Oh, yes.
I can take the headphones from you. All right, little swap-a-rooski.
Hot seat.
And then
so I'm interviewing Colin now?
Yeah.
All right.
You guys can just hang out, take your time.
Oh, no, I can see myself, I'm sure.
Well, first off, welcome.
Thank you.
I mean, huge. I met you at CS. Instantly, I was like, "Oh wait, this is going to be good."
Oh, yeah.
And we're so happy you're here, and we already see in 1 week the impact. But what do you think? Like, what do you think about what we're doing here?
I feel great. I'm a little scared still with like all the information around here.
Yeah.
And being safe, so I'm ultra secure right now. But I feel amazing. I mean, Sam threw me into the deep end, obviously in the best way possible, and has introduced me to so many amazing people. And I was lucky enough to like hang out and play top golf with you guys in Vegas, and then meet Bethany and Imran when I was here for work previous to even going to Vegas. I guess like maybe a month and a half ago, something like that. All of it feels like it's condensed into this very short time frame. But I couldn't have had a better experience. Couldn't have had a better transition coming over here from the East Coast and like, being in the middle of a move and everything like that. But it's amazing.
West Coast is the best coast. Just saying. I know that you're not going to agree with me, but
yeah, well,
I won't agree.
I know. I'm a West Coast kid for life. So,
my future wife is still on the East Coast.
Oh,
so
get her here.
I didn't know. Maybe.
Maybe.
We'll see.
So far, you've like you said, you've gotten to meet a ton of new people. Do you feel like the things that we put out there in the world about like our mission and our values and like who we are as a company and our culture, because a lot of times I say people won't believe it, like it doesn't seem real.
It is. If from the outside looking in, prior to me joining, it does feel a little like you're like, okay, you say that, but do you mean it? And since I've been here, I can tell you at least, even 2 days in, I realized very quickly that all of those things are incredibly true. That makes me really happy, and not just from leadership here. Yeah. It's from every employee here. Every employee that I've met, people that I bump into that I've never met before. Even people that we invite into the office to do things like events and activities with us. I'm just like, this is is something special.
That makes me really happy because, it was something that I think was really important to us and we wanted to change things, right? We didn't want it to feel the same. We've all been in different environments and corporate environments, and we all have stories and we have successes and failures and all those things. And I think that was something that was so important for Bethany and Ron, right? Was to make it different. And when you explain it to people, I would be in like our new hires things and I'd be like, I know this sounds really cheesy and I know it sounds really cliche, but I promise you when you get here, you're going to really understand what I mean. So that makes me happy that you feel that already because it's so special and really important.
Yeah. And I think him throwing me into the deep end definitely accelerated the process. I can understand it, warming up to an environment like this because, it's hard to believe.
Yeah.
It is so hard to believe. But
and you're surrounded by, I say this all the time, is like the people that are here are the best at what they do.
Oh, yeah.
Like insane.
It is the best people
I
at
know.
what they do.
That's crazy.
They're the experts of the world in what they do.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be able to lend any kind of skill or technology, know-how that I've developed over my years and the different people I've worked with previously. And
you'll get to keep learning. That's the cool thing, right? The transparency here is amazing.
Every single day.
I am still learning every day. Like I hear things and ask about things, and that's the cool thing, I think, right? Is that we all get to learn. So we're so pumped you're here.
It's amazing. I'm going to switch back with Sam
yes.
real quick.
All right. Happy first week.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
On your
oh, stop. Stop.
First of many.
Oh, my God.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I did really throw you into the deep end. Like, I didn't, hold your hand and walk down the pool steps with you. I
don't see you as that human,
You were
though.
standing at the end of the diving board, and I just kicked you into the deep end. Which, you're
but you kind of have to
you're,
love that.
You're someone that can handle that,
You kind of have to love that.
In thinking about, did the battery die? In thinking about this sort of the role that I, was looking for, I wanted someone that I can trust first and foremost, that can take initiative, that I don't need to handhold. Because I also feel like I hit the ground running here, when I first joined, and I'm remembering back to my first week, my first day, and my first week, and I blinked now, and February 12th will be 5 months that I'm here.
I mean, we say this a lot. I feel like I've been here for 10 years, and I also feel like I've been here for 10 days, all at the same time. Yep. It's wild.
Yep. Okay, do we have, I guess I can sort of take questions now. I know it's 2:00, so we have about a minute. How is the process of hiring different for a stealth company when people applying don't know anything about the company? Yeah, you got to take the leap of faith.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest thing that I could say is you have to, for me, I believed so deeply in Bethany and Imran, so deeply. So I knew that whatever they were doing was going to be big and change the world. And I still believe that.
Yep.
And I think that the people that come here have to lean into that. And
totally.
It's scary. Of course it is.
You're taking a leap.
Especially if you're leaving something really secure and really so it's about, I think, understanding about who's here. When you see the roster of people who are here, that has to mean something. And then it's believing.
You're telling me, Andie.
And it's believing in something bigger than everything going on right now, and having to really believe in it because this is bigger than anything. Yeah. And you have to want to change the world.
It feels like, at least from my perspective, it feels like I'm strapped to a rocket ship.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah.
And
wouldn't have it any other way.
I would not have it any other way because it's we are just in this go 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 mode.
Yeah.
It's we're working toward a launch, but then the launch is just the beginning.
Oh yeah, that just starts everything. Yeah. You're what you're doing right now is you're putting gas in the
so
rocket.
Jason wants to know, what is the role of a chief of staff?
So I think it's been a lot.
Andie does literally everything here.
It's been a lot. I think that it's becoming more traditional right now than it's ever been. But everything from back in the day, from being janitorial to accounting to HR, everything, right? There was not very many of us. We do all the things. I mean, I have been sitting side by side with Bethany doing all the things and Imran. So I think now I've been able to grow this community team. I've been able to do a lot, and I've been able to pass that off to the right people. I say I raise this toddler, and now it's time to give it away. And I'm really focusing more on Bethany and Imran and more about the support of the business and being there with them to take off some of the burden of the day to day for them, and being kind of their voice, and doing a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's all been more recent, because I had to help build this thing with them, which I was happy to do.
Your employee what number? Say it again.
6.
Number 6.
Yeah.
So
my favorite memory was one day where we had to pay somebody, and we looked at each other. We're like, should we make a PO? Wait, we probably should have a PO for that, don't you think? And we literally went on Google Docs and made a PO. Like, that's how we had to do things, right?
PO stands for
purchase order.
Purchase order.
Yeah.
I mean, from my perspective, Jason, this is to answer your question. I feel like I can ask Andie any question about anything at all at this company, and even if you don't have an answer, you'll get an answer.
Yeah,
from
like 20
me,
minutes.
you
Give me
know?
20 minutes.
Like, I mean, it's booking travel. It's like making sure we have things going in the office, and that is also 20 different things. It's like making sure people are where they need to be, making sure the business is functioning properly, like supporting Imran and Bethany in all facets. Like, I won't talk too much detail about Dubai, but like, man, that trip would not have happened the way it happened if you weren't there. And that's just like one of the things you do. It's like, oh, you need to, we're going on a trip. Okay, well, here's X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C about this trip. And that's like just one of 20 different things that you do at this job.
Yeah.
It's like you're a juggling act.
I always say all the things.
All the things like that.
And learning how to, like, right now hone that in. Yeah.
It's a lot about communication, top to bottom at the scale, relating the top people's thoughts to any other person at this company. Yeah.
So I can go to anyone and say, I need this, or this has to happen, and it happens. And that's part of being at this job. And because those are all being passed down from leadership. And so I've spent a lot of time, obviously, building relationships with people and gaining people's respect, and like me respecting them. And so those things just are happening. So
what's your favorite memory at Humane so far? Probably something that I can't say right now. Let's go there. I need Andie in my life. Well, I can tell you, having Andie in my life.
Why don't you come work with us?
There's plenty of open roles.
Yeah.
We are definitely still hiring.
We can do it.
Does everyone work from the office at Humane? No remote work. There's a few people that work remote, and we have a New York office as well. She runs a company, Julia. I mean, that's the way I feel. Aside from wanting to change the world, what makes a good Humane team member?
You know, I think number one, I believe that, the change the world part, and believing it and wanting to do it.
Totally.
And then I think that it's about being really good at what you do, and really knowing that, and working really hard, and being a team player. Like, we can't do this alone. No one can do this alone. We can't. We have to do it together. And understanding that, like, this, you are supported in a way that I've never in my career been supported.
Yeah, I feel like that too, honestly.
Right?
You know, where it's like, if we need something, if we want to try something, do something.
Oh my
God.
God.
It feels
and will we get it wrong? Sure.
Yeah.
We'll get it wrong, and we'll fix it.
Exactly.
I remember Bethany, I remember, like, it was week 3, and I was upset about something that didn't go exactly perfect. And I called her in a state of just crying and upset. And she was like, Andie, I've never been the CEO of a company. You have never, we have never built a company before. We are going to get it wrong so much more than we're going to get it right. And that was another big pivotal conversation with Bethany that like will always, you know, it's like, okay, we're going to do it one way or another. And you know what, we will.
It's like you got to look at it like all of the things that you've done in your life added up to the moment that you went to Invisalign, right? You went to Apple, you know, you came to Humane, and it's like what was the thing you said before? You're learning. What was the quote?
Oh, in the moment, you're like
something.
Yeah, life happens in the moment. That's you have to.
That's right. And it's like, yeah, of course.
That's who you become. Who you are.
You like. On one side, like, yes, if you're a software engineer at X company, you could go be a software engineer at another company. Sure, yes, but like, the idea is to continue learning. You know, you want to keep learning. You don't want to feel like you're not learning anything.
And when you become, and I think too, when you say, like, I think at Apple for me was, I was always learning, but I was always like at a point where I was like, I got this covered. I got this, you know, like,
you can do this.
Yeah, it was becoming comfortable, but not in a bad way, but it was comfortable.
Right, where you were like, I can do this. I can actually do
comfortable.
this. Right, where it's like you don't let yourself get contained by the fear. You almost get like fired up by it.
I think in an environment like this, you're uncomfortable a lot, and that is like, and I also say too, like, nothing good comes from something that's easy. So like things that are hard, like what we're doing is what makes history, and it's what makes people who they are, and
Totally.
it's what gives people confidence. It's
Mhm.
what gives people the
Mhm.
ability to just keep doing better,
Mhm.
you know? And
Mhm.
so it's if it's comfortable, then it's not going to be fun, right? It's not going to be the
Totally.
thing. Like the big thing comes from these uncomfortable moments.
Yep, that's how you grow.
Yeah.
I'll answer one more question. Do all people at Humane actually know the product? Yes. Yes.
Day one.
Yes, day one.
But you go in not knowing, and I went in absolutely not knowing.
Yep.
Went over to the kitchen and cried and was like, what happened?
Yep. Yep.
And that was, by the way, that was 3 years ago. So what people see now was very different.
Mhm.
And I was absolutely emotional. I can honestly say this, which is actually embarrassing to admit. I couldn't comprehend. I just couldn't. Like, I understood the idea, but I couldn't comprehend. It was just so crazy.
Yep.
So that's
And this
really
is just the
exciting.
beginning.
Yeah, it's
You know,
exciting.
This is just the
It's
beginning.
really exciting. But yeah,
Okay.
it's the best place. For
I
sure.
completely agree. I have never felt more myself being here, and I've been like you. Like, I was a lifeguard at age 14. I started working at Engadget at age 19, and I was like, oh, I'm going to work at Engadget forever. Oh, I'm going to work at The Verge forever. And I went to Mashable and became a YouTuber. And now it's like, okay, now I'm like, all right, now I'm ready to, I'm stepping up to the plate, like this feels,
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be here. And I still, I come in here every day and I'm like,
Yeah, that's
can't
actually a
believe
great.
I work here.
Well, that
it's
too.
crazy.
But I would say that I have never woken up and ever wanted to like not come. Like I have never been like, oh, I have to go to work today. I mean, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to sit in traffic because I live really far
Sure.
away.
Yeah.
But it's not
That's
about.
crazy, by the way, that you commute the way you do.
It's fine.
Major kudos.
It's fine.
I'm complaining about my 12-minute commute here.
I know.
Yeah. But there's just.
But it's
something
never that I don't
so-
want to be here, and like I've had days off that like I've put in my time for, or I have been sick.
Sure.
And
you also have a husband and 2 kids.
Yeah, and
it's
Bethany's like, can you log off, please? But the FOMO here, man.
I know.
If you're not here
I
for a
know,
day,
I know. It's
the
like you feel like
FOMO
you're-
is
I
so real.
know.
You've been away for a day, and I know that you're like
I know
shaking.
what's going on here.
Yeah, missing one day. The
And-
FOMO is so real.
And truly, like 9 times out of 10 when I get here in the morning, Imran and Bethany are here. 9 times out of 10 when I'm leaving, Imran and Bethany are still here.
Yeah, and
You
they're
know, and-
always around, and they're not sitting in an office.
Yes.
And they're always with
yes.
people, and they're always like Imran will say, "Have you seen this? Come over here." And you're
Yeah.
like, "When would you
Yeah,
ever get that
that's
opportunity
sort
to
of like
Apple?
in-
You
in
would
Colin,
never
you
get
can-
that."
You can see this probably pretty clearly, like the cross-functional, cross-compatibility aspect of like go to electrical engineering, go into software engineering, go to networking, go to whatever. Like you could just go anywhere, talk to people, ask people. It's like
I used to sit behind a desk and make meetings for things I had no idea what they were, and then they would launch.
and then you just
And I'd be like, oh, that's what that was?
Wow.
That makes sense. That's why you had iTunes in there, because you were making AirPods. I had no clue. They didn't let us know anything. And
Yeah.
so I think that's what makes it special here, right? Is that everyone gets to understand and be a part of it.
It feels so good to have Imran and Bethany as leaders of this companies, because like they put in the work for many, many, many years, and now they have the opportunity, which they're doing a phenomenal job at, of like being leaders.
Yeah.
It's like
It's amazing. And like they're always about us all the time.
totally.
And I think that people
None
need
of
to
this would be here without any of us,
But I mean, like the sacrifices that they make and the work that they put in, and like the amount of information in their brains on like any hour of a day is insane. And like they do it, and and they're always worried about us. I mean, you don't kind of get that very often.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. And my ability, everyone's ability here, like I'm not afraid or uncomfortable to talk to them. And I've definitely been in jobs where you're like, you shouldn't talk to the CEO. He doesn't want to, or she doesn't want to hear from you.
Ew, that would
like,
never happen here.
Yeah, here it's like we play a
That's
really,
so gross.
really,
Yeah.
really different game here.
Yeah, it's special for sure.
Okay, let's call it here. This was great. Thank you for hanging out.
Absolutely.
I hope that you you're over the nerves.
I know.
now.
I was very nervous, but I think that
We should do
Colin
it
was
again.
right.
We
Sam.
we can expand. Do
I know,
a
we didn't even
round
talk about Humane.
table.
We barely talked about Humane.
In due time.
Yeah.
I just can't wait until we're out of stealth
Yeah.
and we can just like be talking about humane things.
I'm just like such a
on-
proud mom. right? You
Well,
just
you've
want to.
been here for
You
a
just want to tell the
long
world,
time.
like,
And I see Yanir over there too. Like, I have there's a special. I have a really appreciate for the people that have been here for so long, 3+ years operating in stealth. Like, it drives me nuts that we're still in stealth, and I've only been here for.
Well, when you come from Apple, you learn like
Yeah.
you can't say anything, but and a lot of people always try. They try,
Totally.
or they'll be like they want more, and it's like you just have to wait.
Yep.
But it'll be worth the wait, I promise.
Sue Hunt and Kyle and Griffin and Rory and Becca, everyone, they're saying thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And personally, thank you for doing all the things you do here.
You make it easy, Sam.
Well, you make it phenomenal to work here. Like, it's great.
Thank
It's a
you.
great place to be. Yeah, we should do this again.
We're a good team.
We're a great team. Okay. Join us on Discord. Yup. Have a great Friday.
Yeah,
We'll
it's
see
Friday.
you next week, right? Colin?
1000%.
We'll be
Yep.
here next week, probably same time, maybe same place.
I don't know. Mix it up. The different places is kind of fun.
I like that too. It's like we get to show off
I
the office and
know.
we get to, talk
These
to different
offices
people.
that we like built from the ground up. It's pretty
in
fun.
the heart of San Francisco. Okay,
Yep.
happy Friday.
Bye.
Stay tuned for the Discord thing that we're doing. We're doing this like new question and answer series. Ken is our first. We're gonna post that today, right? So we're gonna have this like Reddit style. It's crazy. They built like into Discord a Reddit. It's like you can post and comment. So it's like they built Reddit into Discord. And so I want to set up a recurring, in addition to the live streams, like separate from the live streams, like a sort of Q&A, asking. We're gonna start with Ken because Ken's very enthusiastic, and sort of go from there. So if you're not in the Discord, join. Do we push that yet?
We haven't pushed it yet.
Okay, so we're gonna push it today, and then the idea is to have the questions come in on the weekend, and then on Monday, Ken will answer them, and then it will sort of live in perpetuity on the Discord. And then I haven't even picked. If you have any suggestions as to who should be on the live stream next week, you let me know.
Oh my gosh. How do you even pick?
I don't know. I really.
so-
Lucky instead of Andie this week.
Oh.
Yeah. And then it's where, and I feel like I got lucky with Brian last week.
Brian Huppy.
I know. Maybe I just pick out of a hat.
I mean, because you're never going to get a wrong pick.
I know.
You're not going to get
I
a
know,
bad
I
pick.
know.
That's the great thing about here.
And it's like, do I up the frequency? It's like I could be going live on a daily basis to get through everyone that works here, But we'll keep it to once a week.
Actually, I'm going to tell you after. I have a really great idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
have a good idea.
I can't wait till we're off stream so I
Yeah,
can hear
I have
this
a good idea.
Okay. That's it. Goodbye.
Bye.
End the stream. We'll see you next week.